Let's be honest, France is on everyone's bucket list. From the stunning Eiffel Tower to the lavender fields of Provence, France is full of iconic landmarks, delicious food, and a rich culture. But here's the thing, I wanted to see it all without spending a fortune. So, I set out to uncover the best-kept secrets of France, from wandering the charming streets of Lyon to enjoying the quiet beauty of the French Riviera. In this video, I'll share my budget-friendly tips, my favorite hidden gems, and the must-see spots that made my trip unforgettable. Whether you're into history, food, or just want to explore France in a fun and affordable way, I've got you covered. Ready to dive in? Let's go. From the moment I decided to visit France, I knew that managing my budget was key. France is a dream destination, but it can also be expensive, especially in cities like Paris. I wanted to make the most of my trip while keeping costs down, so I focused on smart planning and affordable options for flights, accommodation, transportation, and food. Booking my flight was the first step. I had always heard that Paris could be expensive to fly to, but I was able to snag a round-trip ticket from New York to Paris for $500 USD. The trick? I booked 6 months in advance and traveled during the shoulder season, early spring, when prices were lower and the crowds weren't overwhelming. When it came to staying in France, I knew that the cities would be pricier, especially Paris. So I opted for a mix of Airbnb and budget hotels. In Paris, I found an affordable place to stay in the Le Marais district for about $100 per night. If you're flexible with your location, you can find great accommodations a little outside the city center for cheaper prices, especially in towns like Lyon or Nice. Getting around France was surprisingly easy and cost-effective. In Paris, I used the metro system, which was both affordable and convenient. I bought a multi-day metro pass for about $35 and found it to be perfect for getting around. For intercity travel, I took TGV trains, which were fast and comfortable. I booked tickets in advance to get the best deals, sometimes as low as $40 USD for long-distance routes. I knew that French food would be one of the highlights of my trip, but I didn't want to spend a fortune on every meal. Street food in Paris, like crepes or baguettes, was a fantastic and affordable option, about $5 to $10. For a more substantial meal, I ate at local cafes or bistros, where I could enjoy classic French dishes for $15 to $30. If I wanted something more upscale, dining in Lyon offered delicious meals at around $50. No trip to France would be complete without experiencing its world-famous landmarks. I made sure to hit all the must-sees, but I also added my own twist by seeking out a few places that weren't necessarily in the guidebooks. Paris was my first stop, and it lived up to all my expectations. Of course, I visited the Eiffel Tower, but instead of waiting in the long lines, I opted to admire it from the Trocadero Gardens, where the view was spectacular. Then, I climbed to the top of the Arc de Triomphe for incredible views of the Champs-Élysées and Eiffel Tower. The $12 USD entry fee was totally worth it. One of my favorite moments in Paris was visiting the Louvre Museum. As someone who loves art, I couldn't wait to see the Mona Lisa and explore the museum's extensive collection. The entry fee was $17 USD, but I found that it was completely worth it, especially when you consider the vastness and beauty of the museum. A short day trip from Paris took me to the opulent Palace of Versailles. The palace and its gardens are awe-inspiring, and while the entry fee of $20 USD seemed steep, the sheer grandeur of the Hall of Mirrors and the manicured gardens made it a must-see. While the major landmarks were incredible, some of the most memorable moments of my trip came from exploring France's lesser-known spots. Lyon is often overlooked by tourists, but it's a place every foodie should visit. Known as the culinary capital of France, Lyon offered some of the best meals of my trip. I spent hours at Les Halles de Lyon Paul Bocuse, sampling cheeses, charcuterie, and local specialties. One of the best meals I had was in a traditional bouchon, where I tasted quenelles and salmon roe. Lyon isn't just about food, it's also home to beautiful architecture, parks, and historical landmarks. The Provence region was one of my favorite parts of the trip. The lavender fields in full bloom were nothing short of magical, and I spent an entire day hiking through the hills, enjoying the sweet scent of the lavender and taking in the beautiful landscape. I also visited the picturesque towns of Gordes and Roussillon, where I wandered through narrow streets, sampled local wines, and soaked up the peaceful atmosphere. I couldn't leave France without experiencing the French Riviera. I spent a few days in Nice, enjoying its lively old town, walking along the Promenade des Anglais, and eating fresh seafood. One of the most beautiful spots was the hilltop village of Aise, where I hiked to the Château de la Chèvre d'Or for stunning views of the Mediterranean Sea. One of the things I loved most about my trip was the ability to customize my itinerary. Whether I was exploring nature, diving into French culture, or enjoying the food, I was able to make my journey uniquely mine. Here's how I tailored my time in France. If you love the outdoors, I highly recommend spending more time in places like Provence, Lyon, and the French Alps. Hiking and exploring the countryside offered a different side of France that's often overshadowed by the big cities. If you're fascinated by history, make sure to visit Versailles, Normandy, or the Roman ruins in Nimes. These areas offer rich insights into France's past. Lyon should be at the top of your list if you're a food lover, but don't skip out on Paris's patisseries or the seafood in Nice. Every region of France has its own unique culinary offerings. Looking back on my time in France, I can honestly say that it exceeded every expectation. From the grandeur of Paris to the peaceful charm of Provence, every moment of my trip was filled with beauty, culture, and incredible experiences. Whether you're interested in history, art, nature, or food, France has something for everyone. With a bit of planning and flexibility, you can make your trip both unforgettable and affordable. Have you been to France, or are you planning to go? Share your experiences or ask any questions you have in the comments below. I'd love to hear about your own adventures and help plan the perfect French itinerary for you.